Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Day one of the summit has been absolutely incredible. So remember, in case you missed any of the sessions or you want to go back and rewatch them, just visit wrapwomen.com and click on the Power Women Summit. And now I'm excited to welcome Grammy Award-winning artist and my friend, Diane Warren. This morning, you saw a sneak peek of her new musical, The Right Girl, inspired by the true events of the Me Too movement. This evening, Diane is joining us to introduce her new song, Low C, in English, Scene, which she wrote for the Netflix film The Life Ahead, starring Sophia Loren.
Dicono che tutto è scritto e non si può cambiare niente. Sono uomo e sono orfano. Io voglio cambiare tutto. Madame Rosa ha iniziato a tenere i bambini delle altre puttane.
Ciao. Rosa, ho bisogno di un favore. Mamma l'ho presa in affido subito dopo la tragedia. Io non ce la faccio più, sono vecchio.
2 mesi, non un giorno di più. Finché vivi qua, le regole le faccio io.
Nel quartiere questo posto lo chiamavano il rifugio. Io lo chiamavo un buco di merda.
Basta! Non t'azzardare, sai? Non ci sta con la testa.
Rosa è un bambino.
Quello non è normale, è bacato dentro.
Quando tu finisci le parole, sto qui.
Avevo la tua età.
Sto qui.
Era la prima volta che qualcuno mi trattava come una persona degna di fiducia.
Che destino è il tuo.
È proprio quando non ci credi più che succedono le cose belle.
Ma se vuoi,
Devi darmi una mano perché da solo non ce la faccio.
se mi vuoi, sono qui.
L'umanità è solo una virgola nel grande libro della vita. Ma quando Madame Rosa mi guardava con i suoi grandi occhi gialli,
Ma se vuoi,
non era una virgola.
se mi vuoi, sono qui.
Ma nel grande libro, tutto intero.
Nessuno ti vede, io sì.
Please welcome Diane, straight from her studio in Hollywood.
Hi, I'm Diane Warren. Earlier today, you got to hear a song from a musical called The Right Girl, inspired by the Me Too movement, a project that started with me meeting Louisette Geis at this very event in 2018. Thank you, Sharon. I love being part of this rising tide of women in Hollywood and beyond who are insisting on change. In fact, I even wrote a song called The Change that is being used as the Biden-Harris theme song. Yay. I love that music can inspire us to want to change the world. I'm so proud to present the song I wrote for the new Sophia Loren film, The Life Ahead. I was inspired to write this song from the story of this film about two characters who the world doesn't really see, Madame Rosa, the old former prostitute, and Momo, the young thief. But they are so much more than that. They are both beautiful souls longing to be truly seen. I don't want to give away the story, but through love and acceptance, they see what others could never see. This beautiful story inspired me to write my song Scene, or in Italian, Low C. I thought the perfect voice to bring this song to life would be Laura Pausini, and as you will hear, no one could have sung it better. I'm proud to introduce the amazing Laura Pausini, coming to you all the way from Italy to sing Yossi.
Hi, this is Laura Pausini from Rome, Italy. I'm very proud to join Power Women Summit and perform Yossi, written with the amazing Diane Warren for the Netflix film The Life Ahead. This song is dedicated to all those who feel like they are invisible. I hope you will enjoy.
Quando tu finisci le parole, sto qui, forse a te ne servono due sole. Sto qui, quando impari a sopravvivere e accetti l'impossibile, nessuno ci crede, io sì. Non lo so, io che destino è il tuo, ma se vuoi, se mi vuoi, sono qui. Nessuno ti sente, ma io sì. Quando tu non sai più dove andare, sto qui. Scappi via o alzi le barriere, sto qui. Quando essere invisibile è peggio che non vivere, nessuno ti vede, io sì. Non lo so, io che destino è il tuo, ma se vuoi, se mi vuoi, sono qui. Nessuno ti vede, ma io sì. Chi si ama lo sa, serve incanto e realtà, a volte basta quello che c'è, la vita davanti a sé. Non lo so, che destino è il tuo, ma se vuoi, se mi vuoi, sono qui. Nessuno ti vede, io sì. Nessuno ci crede, ma io sì.
This year, Gina Prince Bythewood became the first Black woman to direct a big-budget comic book film. Starring Charlize Theron and Kiki Layne, The Old Guard is about a covert team of immortal warriors who must fight to keep their identity a secret. The film, made by Skydance, was acquired by Netflix, and it quickly joined their 10 most popular Netflix films ever list. Joining Gina to talk about the film is Skydance's Chief Creative Officer, Dana Goldberg. Welcome to Gina and Dana.
Who are you? You can call me Andy. I lead a group of soldiers. Fighters, like you. With an extremely rare skill set.
What do you mean?
Mother? Let's just say we're very hard to kill. You've got questions, kid. You want answers? I have the new one.
And?
I think she has potential. See, you're already healing faster. You're gonna do great.
So you good guys or bad guys?
Depends on the century.
So we really never die.
Just because we keep living doesn't mean we stop hurting.
Throughout history, we've protected this world, fighting in the shadows. But it's nearly impossible to disappear in the world we live in today. Would you like me to take one for you?
Oh, thank you so much.
Here you go.
Thank you.
These are extraordinary individuals. They are extremely resistant to capture.
They're going to lock us up and weaponize us. But they've never faced an army like ours.
An army of 5. Shit, let's start a band.
If we can unlock their genetic code, the entire world will be begging us for the key.
You shouldn't have done that. We don't have all the answers. But we do have purpose.
I strongly recommend that we leave right now.
Let's move!
Wait for the signal.
How the hell can you even tell? Oh.
I'm gonna keep up on all that.
What's up, Dana?
Hey, Gina, how you doing?
I'm good.
So we get to talk about the old guard, something we both love talking about. So this should be fun. So you, in addition to making me and Don Granger and the rest of my film team look very good by saying yes to this movie, you have been notoriously in your career, I'll say picky or choosy or pointed about what material you've chosen to direct. Why'd you say yes to Old Guard?
So many reasons. Foremost, the pickiness is, as you know, when you do a film, it's a year and a half. In this case, it was 2 years of my life. So if I'm going to put that time into something, if I'm going to be away from my family, it has to mean something. And doing a film like this had been something that I was actively wanting to do in the last couple of years. We know our industry, those doors are not wide open. They are widening finally, but they're not wide open. And I was not getting that opportunity yet. But I knew the kind of film that I wanted to do. And when you guys sent the Old Guard script, it literally was everything I wanted to do in this space. It was about something. It was about finding your purpose. It had 2 female leads. It had a young Black female hero as a lead. It had Joe and Nikki. And it was so beautifully character driven. And, you know, Greg did a phenomenal job on the adaptation, Greg Rucka. And then it was our meeting, you know, to walk in the Skydance, you know, you walk past the life-size Terminator, and you're walking past a life-size Tom Cruise, you know, Mission Impossible, and it's intimidating. You know what kind of movies you guys make, but you also make genre movies that are really good. And it was exciting to walk in there knowing that I had a slim chance. I mean, in my mind, I had a great chance, but given our industry, a slim chance of maybe being able to be added to these life-size things in your offices. But it was exciting, but also, you know, nerve-wracking to walk into that space, especially, again, so many of us women who want to be here, all we ask is get us in the room and then let us show us what we can do, but we don't often get into the room. So it was, as I said, exciting and intimidating to walk in. And the 3 of you, it became very clear very quickly how much you guys love movies. And it was just like I was put at ease pretty quickly by you guys. One, just the excitement you had for this project and the way that you were talking about why I was in that room, because often we're told you're not in the room because you've never done action before. And one of the first things you guys said was you're here because of Love and Basketball and Beyond the Lights, which, you know, that was a great moment for me because it did let me kind of put my shoulders down a bit and just focus on what I wanted to say about the project.
Well, for the record, you had a lot more than a slim chance. We felt like we were the lucky ones to be getting you in the room. And for the record, I very much look forward to the time when we all get back in an office together so that you can walk through again and see the big, giant Old Guard posters and standees that will be everywhere in the office. But look,
let me throw it back on you, though. Seriously,
okay.
Because it is a question that you know, knowing that was why I was in the room. But, you know, for you guys, this is a big project. This is a big potential franchise for you guys. And I'm coming in the room and I didn't have action experience except for, you know, I did a Marvel pilot and had been working on Silver and Black. But what was it that, you know, that you guys were able to say, I trust that she can knock out the action?
Sure. Well, it wasn't just about the action. For us, it always starts with story and then story and character. And truthfully, based on the underlying material that, as you mentioned, was from Greg Rucka, and he adapted his own material and he did such a beautiful job. But based on the relationships in this movie, specifically the relationship between Andy, played by Charlize ultimately, and Niall, played by Kiki, we wanted a female director. We really wanted somebody who was going to understand that relationship, because there's a lot going on in this movie, but at the heart of it, it's the relationship between the two of them. And we put together a list of women we wanted to go after immediately. And unfortunately, you were unavailable, and because you were on Silver and Black. And then, you know, I don't even remember how much longer it was. A few weeks later, Don Granger, our president of features, came in and said, I think Gina might be gettable. And it was a conversation. I was like, well, what do we do? How do we do that? And it was because of, I'll be honest, it was because of Love and Basketball. I think anybody who knows me knows I'm a big sports fan. And, you know, a lot of sports movies can grab your heart, but the choreography of the sport looks a little off. It doesn't really look exactly like the sport that you're used to watching over the weekends. And Love and Basketball, the characters were so brilliant. I mean, everybody lauds that film now for its amazing love story. But it was your body of work, and we had seen your Marvel pilot. And truthfully, when you came in to the room that I can't believe you were intimidated by, but you blew us away. You had such passion for the material. And to be completely honest, we'll bet on talented people who are passionate about material every day of the week.
It's great you say that, because it often get asked, you know, by aspiring filmmakers, what do we need to do? How do we go into meetings? And the first thing I do always say is you have to be passionate. I know certainly for me, when I'm crewing up or even casting, that passion often trumps a resume, because you want somebody to bring everything and they're all to it. And again, when I read that script, I knew within 5 pages, I was like, oh my God, like I need to do this film. And so I do remember, again, it is intimidating, but more so as a woman, you got to go in with swagger, because you have to make y'all believe that you're going to give me millions of dollars, and I'm not, not going to just, you know. So yeah, but I just remember it was really a incredible kind of flow, because you guys were so passionate about it as well. And so it went from a pitch, which is intimidating, to a conversation. And it was fun. And I hadn't met you guys before. you guys certainly have a great reputation, and people were telling me, and there's not a ton of women in your position, and people are talking about Dana Goldberg, and, suddenly I'm here sitting next to you, but it really was a true conversation, and just talking about our love for these characters. And we even had the same line was one of our favorite lines in the movie, the mother fuck from Andy to Killfloor. And so to have so many connective moments in that first meeting certainly, helps your confidence. Even though, again, you have to believe going in that you can do the gig. And then it's about convincing the person opposite you that you can do it as well.
It is. And you definitely had swagger, as you always do. But you also did the work. I mean, you're right, because that was a phenomenal conversation. But then we also said, okay, talk to us about how you're going to do the action. We hit it head on. Let's talk about it. And you said, let me go off and let me think about it. And you came back, and in the next meeting, you'd put together a reel. You'd chosen the music for it, and it set a tone. And it really showed the vision that you had for how to put this movie together, and how it was so clearly going to be a Gina Prince Bythewood film. And I do remember saying to you in that very first meeting, I said, we want the Gina version of this movie. Show us what that is going to look like. And again, you did the work. You came back and you showed it to us, and then we fell all over ourselves to say yes.
Yeah, it was, I remember the moment too, because that's the thing, as when you go into those meetings, you're always hoping to get it in the room, so to speak. And I do remember in that second meeting, I caught a glance between you and David Ellis. I was like, I think I got this.
Absolutely. That was the look that said, you got this.
But I do remember walking, after I did get it in the room, walking back to the car in the parking lot was such an amazing feeling, because again, I love this so much. And the fact that I got it, and I remember sitting into my car, and then that euphoria was like slowly like, oh shit, I gotta come through now. But that's where the work begins. And again, because you guys have done this so often and on such a high level, it was, that was such a benefit to be able to lean on you guys throughout this process of, how to put a film like this together. But we all knew, as you said, it starts with story. You got to tell a good story first. And then, all that extra money is more time and more toys. But let's focus certainly on the characters and the story. And that was just the most fun we had, or at least I had. I mean, I love all of it, but to be able to sit in those rooms, in that big boardroom with you guys and with Greg Rucka for, I think it was like 6 months, just honing the script and honing the characters. And it was just so collaborative and exciting. And again, you guys are really smart. And it was a really great thing to just be able to bounce stuff off and feel free enough to throw out ideas and know that it was all about making the script better, that there wasn't ego involved in it, not even from Greg. It was just about making it better. And that's just the best environment to be in. And that's certainly what you guys foster at Skydance.
Well, thank you. So a lot of women worked on this movie.
Yes.
In front of and behind the camera. I mean, so yes, obviously Charlize, Kiki, you, Beth Kono was also a producer on this movie. But talk about, because you were very clear from the beginning. You said, I'm going to have a lot of women working on this movie, both in front of and behind the camera. And my numbers may be slightly off, but I believe in terms of department heads, we were around 60-40 women to men. And then in post-production, we had an 85% female crew. Tell me why that was so important to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was 100% intentional. But it's really two things. So foremost, as I said earlier, so many resumes of women in this industry are smaller than those of men in the same positions. And I have found so often that it's not about talent. It's just about opportunity. And having been in this industry for 25 years and the fights that I had to have, I'm willing to do the work and look beyond the resume and just really ask around about the talent. And then it's what you bring into the meeting. And the women that we hired were just all so passionate about telling the story and wanting to be a part of this story. And then the second part of it is that there's no PC thing to this as well. It wasn't, let's do something because it looks good. Every woman, every department head that we had on this is dope and so good and made the film better and made me better. And I felt lucky that, damn, people didn't know about her. They didn't know how good she was. So now they get to see. And the fact that we had a woman, Haley Williams, who was in charge of all the special effects. I think she's the only female supervisor in the industry. And she was in charge of all our explosions, our booms, and our blood. And she was amazing. And also her energy was incredible. Terry Lynn Shropshire, our editor.
I was going to say, I wanted to give a special shout out to Terry, who I don't want anyone else to hire her because I'd like to have her cut every one of our movies moving forward, but she's amazing.
Well, she's amazing. The fact that she can do the quiet moments as well as the big set pieces, that is a gift. And we were lucky to have her, and the work ethic that Terry brings. I mean, I always feel like you can't outwork me, but Terry goes, really, she'll kill me. She comes very, very close. Tammy Riker did incredible work on the film as DP. Julia Michaels, our music supervisor, great. Mary Voigt, who did wardrobe. It was just a great group of women, and I hate if I'm forgetting somebody, but it just created a cool environment, and it was exciting to be on set and sit at a table where normally you're the only, and suddenly I'm looking across and I'm seeing a lot of us, and it was giddy at times as well.
That was fun. That was fun.
It was. And my hope is now that this number of women who have the old guard on their resume, that there'll never be a question of whether they can do it. They can do it and did it really well.
Changing gears a little bit. When we first started talking about this movie, I remember we had a conversation because it was 2018 when we started talking about this movie. We said, so this may be for a streamer. We think this might be a movie for a streamer. And you looked at me and you said, what? No. Well, you want to talk through your process and where you got to, considering we're one of the most popular films Netflix has ever had?
Yeah, I remember that was a shock because when I came aboard this, I won't say the studio, but this was at a studio. And I was excited about that because, this is a big film, and I had never done anything on streaming before. And I love the bigness of film. I love it so much. I love sitting in a theater. I love the collective energy of a crowd reacting. It's everything. And I remember sitting in a room with all of you guys, and you guys brought it up about, hey, we're thinking about, and I was immediately like, no way, not this film. And also because it was two female leads, and I was like, why? No, we want this, in a theater. And I remember you guys were talking about just the change that was happening, really in the world and how people were consuming content. And I think the strongest thing you guys said to me is, we make a film for an audience. And here's an opportunity to have a really big audience. And it's hard to argue with that. But what we did end up getting to was we would do both. We would have a small theatrical and streaming. And that I felt good about that because if you loved it on streaming, you have an opportunity to see it in the theater. And obviously all the hours that, you sit and you work on the perfect mix and you're working on the color, like to think somebody's watching on a phone is like, no. But I still didn't know what it was going to feel like to come out on Netflix. Like, would you feel it at all? How is it going to be in terms of that day it drops? And I have to say, it dropped in 190 countries in one day. It was insane, the reach. And I'm excluding the pandemic. The fact that we got to still come out, then we look like geniuses, of course. But the reach of it, the fact that this film, which has Nile, this young Black female hero, is now in 190 countries. Joe and Nikki and their love and their badassness is in 190 countries. Joe, a Muslim hero, 190 countries, you can't even wrap your head around it. And the numbers, as we know, that we got, that was so exciting to know. And because of social media now, you can feel it. And it was surreal to hear how many people watched the film. And I'm so glad that we were on Netflix. And also they were actively looking for a action film with two female leads, whereas the studios were tolerating it, and that translated to a lot more money for our budget as well, which was hard to argue with.
No, they were phenomenal partners throughout. And special shout out to Tendo Nagenda, who I think actually said he wanted to do this before he had technically started.
Yeah, a couple that he brought it in. It was his first project. And the fact that, as you said, he got it. He knew what this film was. And to then sit with Scott Stuber and all of us. And again, it's just great to hear.
Let's not forget Tahira Gooden.
Yes, and Tahira. So sitting across from them and hearing, there was no, are you sure you can do it? It was, oh, this is a really good idea to have you do this. Like that felt great, because again, for 25 years, you get conditioned of you can't or you don't want to, when, there's so many of us that can and do want to. So to have that support and their excitement about this film, it was, it was great.
What I love about you is that I remember the day they called us and they said, okay, it looks like it's going to be around 70 something million accounts will have watched within the first month. You're going to be number 6 on our top 10 list. Do you remember what you said? First words out of your mouth.
Yeah, I was like, what's
what are the other 5? And luckily, happily, at Skydance, we have one of them in 6 Underground. And you were like, wait, how many more people have to watch for us to beat that one? We can beat that one. First thing out of your mouth. Swagger start to finish.
That was, I can't even lie. Yes, I did. And I still feel that way. I'm hoping, you always want that top spot. But again, I'm not, it's amazing, what we accomplished, and incredibly proud of it. And, I do, making a movie like this, again, it was my first, where you guys do it all the time. And, it's a different animal to do a film like this. Not only the amount of money, but then it's obviously that amount of money brings more voices and more pressure. So, it's an interesting jump to do it. But I was super fortunate, one, to be able to talk to Patty Jenkins. We had a couple lunches that was just so helpful. And Ryan Johnson was so incredibly helpful in terms of just fellow filmmakers who had been in that space, and just be able to talk about what it's like, to do something. And then again, to always be able to have you guys on speed dial and reach out and help navigate this was absolutely essential.
Well, as you said, I am incredibly proud of this movie, and will forever be thankful for it for many reasons, but specifically because it's how I met you.
True that.
So thanks a lot, Gina.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you so much, Gina and Dana. And now we're going to turn our attention to another film, this time a documentary. Earlier today, we paid tribute to 2 survivors of sexual assault, Sherry Sher and Drew Dixon, the subjects of the HBO film On the Record. Now we'll get to hear from the two filmmakers, Amy Ziering and Kirby Dick. But before we turn to the filmmakers, let's take another brief look at On the Record.
I drove across the country to New York with a dream to make hip-hop records. It's only now that we're really unpacking how toxic so much of that time was. I didn't tell that many people about what happened with Russell. He's the king of hip-hop. The Black community will hate my guts.
I don't have a stitch of violence in me. I would never hurt anybody.
If white women are not believed, what do you think is happening to Black women in America when we come forward with stories about sexual violence?
The New York Times called me and said there were other women, but they won't go on the record unless I go on the record.
Everybody was taught things happened, you just didn't talk about it.
Every woman's story deserves to be heard.
I've been a victim for 22 years. I'm tired of being a victim. I'd like to be a warrior.
Kirby and Amy have collaborated on some of the most important films exposing sexual misconduct throughout American society. Kirby is a two-time Emmy Award-winning and two-time Academy Award-nominated documentary film director. His most recent film, The Bleeding Edge, a Netflix original investigative feature on the medical industry, premiered at the 2018 Tribeca Film Festival and won 2019's George Polk Award for Special Achievement Investigative Journalism and an Alfred DuPont Columbia Award and a Peabody nomination. His previous films include The Hunting Ground, a monumental expose of rape culture on college campuses, The Invisible War, a groundbreaking investigation into the epidemic of rape within the US military, Twist of Faith, the story of a man confronting the trauma of his past sexual abuse by a Catholic priest, which was also nominated for an Academy Award. Amy Ziering is also a two-time Emmy Award-winning and Academy Award-nominated documentary filmmaker. She co-directed The Bleeding Edge with Kirby, and her previous films include The Hunting Ground, The Invisible War, among other award-winning films. Welcome, Kirby and Amy.
Thank you.
So for our audience, just to catch them up, right? The last time the three of us got to speak was at the Sundance Film Festival 10 months ago, January. Feels like a world away, in person, when film premiered. Since then, what has happened? What has been the journey of the film for you?
Well, the journey's been obviously very odd. I mean, it premiered at Sundance, as you know, Sharon. It was, you know, an explosion. And the premiere itself was an event I'll never forget. I mean, it was really moving because it had been such an emotional journey making the film, and then actually getting it to see the light of day was sort of a real nail biter at the end. So we emerged, you know, really thrilled. And the film was so well received. At that premiere, we had like 4 standing ovations, which was absolutely mind-blowing. And, you know, people in tears. And it sort of became some, you know, really talked about, and we loved all the love that was being showered on everyone in the film at the festival. And we had sort of hoped that spirit would carry on, but of course, COVID intervened. So it's been, a wonderful, complicated release for a lot of people.
We should also say that there was this question mark hanging over the film in a sense, and that you were intending to come to Sundance with a distribution deal, with Oprah as your partner. That came apart for reasons that still seem mysterious to many. And then HBO did step in. It was meant to be an Apple release, and then HBO stepped in. Kirby, talk about having done so many films on these, I will say, explosive topics, right? Was this one harder, or because it was about the entertainment industry and Russell Simmons, who's a powerful figure?
Well, no, actually, in many ways, it was, you know, the making of the film was obviously a lot of work, like with any documentary. You know, we teamed up with Oprah Winfrey, had a great working relationship. that went super smoothly. They told us that we were one of the best, if not the best, production company they'd ever worked with. So it was a very strong collaborative effort. And then when it saw the light of day, when it was announced that it was going to be at Sundance and it was about Russell Simmons, then Russell Simmons started pressuring Oprah actually that night. And at that point, she, changed her perspective on the film. And so we decided that we could not. I mean, we had these survivors who had courageously come forward to be in the film. And we, if we were to back out at that point, it would make it look like their stories were questionable. And we knew that they weren't. So we were, as we do with all our films, we stand by our subjects, and we especially stand by survivors of sexual assault. So we did. And, as a team, the entire team, we had a wonderful team. We got it to Sundance. HBO Max saw it there. They loved it. And they put it on their network. And, it's just gone gangbusters since then.
So for the record, for those who might have a question in their mind, because Oprah was involved, and then probably the most powerful woman, Black woman in media, decides she doesn't want to put her name on it. Has anything emerged in the interim that might raise questions about the stories that the women in the film tell?
No. I mean, absolutely no, 100% not. We've not ever, in fact, in any of our films, had to do one retraction of any information we put forward. I mean, our things are rigorously fact-checked. We're scrupulous. We're extremely truth-based. So no, that was never a concern for us. We knew that nothing would come up, and nothing has. So
and nothing has. So one of the things that has been, it's both gratifying and kind of heartbreaking that we keep having more stories come out. I don't know whether we should be happy or crushed. And you seem to find new ways of approaching this topic of sexual misconduct or abuse or assault or rape, whether, in your lives as filmmakers. Why do you think that this is continuing to be exposed? And also, why is it, what distinguishes this particular story from the other subject matters that you've investigated, whether in the military or college?
Well, let me just jump in real quick. The reason we keep coming across these stories, as well as, obviously many other journalists and filmmakers, is we live in a misogynist society. There's no question about that. We're not post-misogynist by any means. And all you have to do is look at our current president. So this is, sexual assault, sexual abuse, misogyny continues to be a very, very, very serious problem in society. And, we have a long struggle ahead of us. And Amy, you want to speak about the second?
Yeah, and you asked the common thread. The common thread, Sharon, is what Kirby said, is that we have a culture of misogyny, which leads to sort of a rape culture that's pervasive and long going. And in On the Record, you see it's centuries old. It's built into the DNA of the way we treat Black women. They literally were chattel, and they were property. They were physical property of white people when they came to America with no legal rights. And there's a legacy of that, which we see born, if you watch the film, you see born out today. But not only that, so you have this, culture. So you say, why is this on? So we have this culture that's been going on for centuries. So that's a hard boulder to shift. We're chipping away at it, one film, one television show, one, news article at a time. And we're made remarkable progress. I never thought we'd see Me Too in a lifetime. But coupled with that, you have the culture that protects, actually you see also the common thread in all our films is it's just a small percentage of men that actually commit these crimes, but the culture protects them. It's ingrained to protect them. And that's what you really see in On the Record, And because serial predators commit these crimes with impunity, they can commit them over and over and over again, which leads to why do we see these crazy numbers? Coupled with that, it's incredibly painful and shameful. As I remember when we interviewed a prosecutor, she said, think about how often do you talk in detail about good sexual experiences?
Right.
Think about it.
It's your private life. Yeah.
Right. So who's going to so that just alone irregardless is going to be a barrier to coming forward and talking about this. So it's slow, but we're making progress. And, you know, I'm so grateful to the women in this film. Oh my God, the courage they had to come forward, especially as you see, you know, when the executive producer who was co-making this with us. I mean, Oprah, you don't blink in her company without her permission. So, you know, we were really co-crafting this. And for her to pull out and sort of shake the confidence of the women in the film, you know, they're a gift to America and a gift to all of us that they're out there with their names on it, trying to enlighten and inform and move the culture forward in a way it has to be moved.
Well, they talk very movingly in the film about the extra onus on them as Black women to protect Black men who are behaving badly. That feels like it makes it 10 times harder for them to speak up and to tell the truth. And it was so interesting to hear each one of them say, well, I felt that I had to support so-and-so, and I saw she spoke out, and I felt I had to support so-and-so, like strangers to them. And like we know from, you know, I've talked to so many women survivors in the entertainment industry, particularly. You guys are certainly experts in the field, well beyond myself, but I've spoken to so many. And, you know, dredging that up from 30 and 20 or 10 years ago, it is life changing. It is life altering. So how did you guys feel? You know, I know that you're conscious of being white filmmakers dealing with a sensitive topic in the Black community. Talk a little bit about sort of how you found that balance and that center, and, you know, as filmmakers with these subjects dealing with this cultural kind of framing.
Do you want me to go, Kirby?
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, we never would have made this film without Black partners. So I just want to underline that the only reason this got greenlit, I mean, we showed Oprah some clips, she flipped out, we did a rough cut showed it to her in June. And then from then on, we worked very closely with her team. So we would never have presumed to make this otherwise. So it was really a co-racial creative team throughout, and we never would have done that otherwise. So unfortunately, the final result doesn't reflect that, but that is the honest truth, you know, from meticulous notes, from, lengthy conversations, et cetera, with not only Oprah, but her whole team throughout. Second thing is, if you watch the film, it's really the voices of the women entirely throughout. You know, it's Black women speaking their truths, and we made sure to foreground and privilege and amplify their voices. And that's how it's structured. So you're hearing them tell you their stories, and also then you're hearing generations of wisdom, you know, provide the analysis, you know, to give their stories context, which is, you know, you have Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, Dr. Joan Morgan, Kimberly.
Yeah, I loved hearing from them. I thought they added so much to the film, so intelligent. And one of the experts, it almost felt like she was about to tell her own story, but then doesn't quite feel ready or something.
Yeah. Kierna Mayo and Shanita Hubbard, who are all legends, you know, without our white culture at large knowing or recognizing them, but they're really authorities in their own right and have remarkable careers. And so I'm really glad that the film also puts forward their viewpoints. So that's how we address that.
Kirby, you got a double whammy. You're a white and a guy. Forget the fact that you've changed policy in the military, the two of you. I mean, you know, you started out, I remember seeing the film about the Catholic Church, which is also a topic as a journalist at the time I was very, very interested in, having done myself reporting in Native American reservations where the church was the only institution, and the abuse that happened there. And it was so moving. And then now this has become such a central part of your life. Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, let's be clear that sexual assault is not a women's issue, right? I mean, this is is everyone's issue, right? And if anything, I think it's the responsibility of men, obviously, much more than women, to step up, and that's what I'm trying to do. That's what Amy and I are trying to do. That's what our entire team is trying to do. So I think that's very important. I also think, though, that you know, this is an issue that has been buried for so long. It's going to take, you know, multiple films. It's going to take multiple investigations, a lot of journalists, a lot of filmmakers, and the public as a whole, and activists to come together to help to change this issue. This is not something where, oh, we're just going to change the way we look at things. No, it is very deep in our culture. And again, just looking at the president, you can see, here's a man who got nearly 50% of the vote. Yet, he has 20 plus women who've accused him of sexual assault or sexual abuse. I mean, we have a long way to go.
It may be that in the fullness of time that we end up having to pay some homage to Trump for having propelled all these other women to speak out, because there's no doubt in my mind that was part of what's fueled this wave,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. Yes. I wish we didn't have to go through, 4 years of the reactionary policies of Trump to have that come forward. But
let me ask you,
that's a silver lining.
What can you tell exactly? What can you tell us about where Russell Simmons is today? What's become of him? Does he still maintain his innocence, or say it was all consensual?
Yeah, no, he still claims that the accusations the women make in our film are inaccurate. He's always made that that's not uncommon, obviously, for someone who's accused of sexual assault. Very rarely do they come forward and admit to it. This doesn't surprise us at all.
Mm-hmm. But I do want to add that, and I think he's in Bali now, because there's no...
I think, I was going to ask, he's not in Los Angeles. I mean, he used to be. We were in LA, like,
he travels
very much.
He still travels, back and forth some.
But I do want to say that I wish the film didn't have to include the predators, because it's really, the predators are fungible. Like, a lot of the questions we get are, what's happening to this guy or that guy? But it's really most important to me, honestly, that it's about the women and their journey and what these crimes do, and how all of us can't protect these criminals anymore. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, and I should also say, we have talked about Oprah Winfrey a few times in this conversation. We will go back and ask her if she has any comment, because I think that's fair to do, and see if she has any different kind of reaction anymore than she did at the time. So just in fairness to her.
Just so you know, we're honestly and extremely grateful. The film would not be what it is without her incredible contributions. It never would have gotten made. So, we credit her entirely for it. For everything.
Well, I think that's great. I don't know if it feels the same way to say Drew or Sherry or Silai, who certainly it's got to be painful to have lost that support. But in any event, what is your observation of how the women who stepped up and did this film with you? And I guess you were shooting more than a year ago, right? You must have been shooting over.
Oh, yeah.
How long ago are we talking about?
Let's see.
We're shooting we about wrapped. We were shooting, wrapped about a year ago, a little less than a year ago.
About a year ago. And you were shooting for months and months before that.
Oh, yeah. No, we were shooting at least 2 years. Yeah, at least 2 years on this. Right. Correct.
Yes. So can you share anything about what you've observed in terms of how the women of the film, how their lives have been changed, either for the better or if not for the better? And we have, I've had the privilege of observing what has happened to some of the women from the Harvey Weinstein cases. And that's been fascinating to watch. One example being this, musical that was written by one of those Harvey Weinstein survivors that we were able to have performed earlier today, which was like a wonderful, positive, cathartic thing. And I just wondered if you have any observations about that from the subject of this film, or even other films that you've done on the topic.
It's very varied and very personal. And I prefer them to speak for themselves, but from my interactions with many of the people on the record, it's been net positive. But it's a traumatic, going through this kind of trauma and then going through it in public is a very different journey for everyone. So and it morphs and changes over time. But so far with On the Record, I mean, I know that a lot of them feel it's been a really remarkably cathartic and life-changing experience, not only for the survivors, but actually for some of the women who just sort of, some of the experts that weigh in, just for finally being able to speak about this and have it recognized and acknowledged and appreciated in the way it has been extremely meaningful for many.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these, not only did they deny it or not go public about it for so long, but I mean, the culture has denied this, denied their voices, silenced their voices. So for them to speak out, it takes a great deal of courage. And I think, as Amy said, overall, it's been really very positive for them. The reception at Sundance, the reception on HBO Max, the discussions that it's generated and continues to generate today that they are very much a part of. I mean, they're very much on the cutting edge of this. I think that is very fulfilling for them, that they've taken something that's been so traumatic and so painful and turned it into something that was so positive.
And they've told me that they've never thought they'd see these conversations in their lifetime. Like Joan and Shanita and Kierna said that some of the things that have been going on in the hip hop community, some of the panels that have happened, some of the radio shows, this used to be the third rail, and that's like, so they're really incredibly moved and feel empowered by that in a way they never thought.
I think that's one of the things that we're trying to support here at the summit, and bringing a community of these courageous women together. They can get to know one another. They can feel supported, because in so many cases, they don't know each other. They may tell their story to one journalist or to one filmmaker, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're connected to the other women. And to me, I feel like that's so important in letting them know and letting other women out there who have yet to tell their stories that they're not alone, and that it's not their fault. That you even have to say that is so insulting to women, but that feeling of shame persists, and that you can move forward. And I feel like, the work that you guys are doing with your films are just foundational, and they are really changing our world. And we are privileged to have you here. We're privileged to see your film. We're privileged to honor the women that you've allowed to be heard. So thank you so much for your work. We're here for you going forward, for all the work you're going to continue to do. And thanks for being part of the summit this year.
Thank you, Sharon. And right back at you. Thank you for all you've done. Your incredible leadership and vision is moving mountains. So thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. For more award season screenings, you can check out our website at screenings.thewrap.com. As for the summit, we've got a big day planned tomorrow. We'll see you at 9 a.m. Pacific for a Q&A with Camilla Alves McConaughey, the founder of Women of Today. After that, we'll be speaking to Regina King, Abigail Disney, Olivia Culpo, Whitney Port, Alexis Wren, and also with chief inclusion officers from some of the world's biggest media companies. Don't forget, in case you missed anything today, you can go back and watch all of today's sessions on wrapwomen.com. Just click on Power Women Summit. And a final big shout out to our amazing sponsors. We couldn't have put this together without your support. Thanks everybody, and see you tomorrow.